this is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments, and I am welcoming you back to see another episode of Project Recipe. This is a throwback project recipe from 2021, but it is super pretty and it is very spring oriented, so I know you're gonna love it. If you haven't done this project recipe before, I know you're just gonna really enjoy this one. So if you have some Botanical Bliss handy, if you remember that one, get that out. If not, just get out some spring papers, and I'll show you what else I have in my workspace today so you can work along with me, okay? Hang on just a second. Let's check out my workspace. All right, so today I have Botanical Bliss, like I mentioned before. You might recall, if you've been part of the CM community for a couple of years back, you might recall that Botanical Burst came in several different colors. This is the yellow paper pack, but it came in green and blue and pink, and all of the papers were just stunning and a lot of fun to work with. So today we're going to work with yellow, because it's one of the only ones that I had papers still left from, and because I wanted something that was going to be sunshiny and spring-like. We're ready for spring around here. I don't know about you, but we love the snow. Well, the snow's here, and it's just been a lot of snow this year, so we're kind of ready for spring. So this is my way of jumping into some spring activities now that it's March. So we're also going to use I think this was the 5-leaf punch. Honestly, shoot, I didn't write it down, but I call it the 5-leaf punch because it's the only punch I have that punches 5 individual little leaves on a stem. And we're going to use our circle maker today. So if you have your circle maker, get that out. If you don't, then you might have just a little bit of trouble making the size circle that I'm using, but you could use a different size circle. That would be totally okay. It's up to you. So you'll need to experiment just a little bit. I again have my permanent and repositionable adhesive out here, so we'll use that in a little bit. But for right now, let me get to the project recipe and share with you a little bit more about that. You can see that we have a half circle on this side and a half circle on this side. We're going to be cutting a full circle using our circle maker out of cardstock, and that's what's going to create that shape for us. Other than that, there's really not a lot of specialty to this layout, so it should come together fairly quickly and easily. You can see we have our 3 pieces of paper that we need. We need a piece of white cardstock, a piece of alternate colored cardstock, and a piece of designer paper. And I will walk you through all of these cutting guides and measurements in just a second. So on my desk, I have white cardstock. I have the dark green cardstock from our CM collection of cardstock, and then I have 2 pieces of designer paper. These are going to be my bases, and I just happen to have these 2 that kind of coordinate and almost look like the same paper, and so I decided to go ahead and use them. This one with the stripes on it is going to mainly be matte, so we're going to be cutting this piece up. So I'm going to just set my base pieces to the side for a moment, and we're going to cut these 3 pieces into something more interesting. Okay, first we're going to start with our circle. You're going to take your circle cutter and undo this white dial right here. If you're not familiar with how to use your circle cutter, there is a pivot point on the bottom here that does not damage your paper. That's just the area that your tool swings around on. Okay, this is a little rubber foot that helps stabilize the paper and keep it still underneath the cutting arm, and here is your blade down here. the blade is very, very similar to the blade that we have in our 12-inch trimmer, in that I can rub my finger right across it and there's no cutting surface there that can injure me, which is really nice. You're going to loosen, as I said, this white dial right here and move this black line and the bubble right here. Can you see that? Let me see if I can refocus so you can see that a little bit better. Okay, so we're going to move this black line on the dial until you get it to approximately 8 3/4 of an inch. Now that's a little bit tricky because our inch marks, which are these white marks right here, are done in 1/10ths of an inch rather than in, or 20ths of an inch rather than in 1/4 of an inch. So basically you're going to move your black line until it's just in front of the last tick mark before the 9. All right, and that will give you roughly 8 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and refocus my video for you. There you go. Okay, I'm going to place this so that the blade is as close to the edge over here as I can. Then I'm going to push down on the blue button here and swing this around and make sure that I'm within the right parameters up here, so I'm not cutting off the edge. Okay, so that should be good. Now I'm going to go ahead and squeeze this white button while I'm pushing this down to stabilize. That's going to free up the blade and allow me to cut that full circle out. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and remove it. Handy tool for cutting any size circle between 3 inches and 11 3/4 inches in diameter. Now I'm going to use my 12-inch trimmer, and my 12-inch trimmer, if you've never heard me say this before, will cut a circle exactly in half. All you do is you take your circle and balance it between the shoulders at either the top or the bottom of your trimmer, and then close your blade or close your arm on your trimmer, and it will cut your circle exactly in half. Okay, so there we go. There's our half circle. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my circle maker away because we're not going to use that anymore. I'm going to grab my green cardstock. We're going to cut 2 4-inch by 12-inch pieces from my green cardstock. Okay, so there's one. I'm going to cut another one. Okay, so there's 2. We're going to use those in our layouts. And this last piece, as you can see right here, we're going to punch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to punch 14 sets of leaves out of this piece of paper. But we're going to get to that in a minute. First, we're going to finish with our trimmer. All right, so we need a piece that's 3.5 inches. So 3.5. We need another piece, a second piece that's 3.5 inches. Okay, then I need another piece that's 4 inches. This is going to be extra. And we're going to turn this and we're going to cut it at 6 inches. And if you have a handy dandy little extra strip up here to show you where that 6-inch mark is, then great. If not, you'll need to pull your arm out so you can know where 6 inches is. Okay, then I'm going to cut at 3.5 inches. Set the smaller piece aside. Turn this and cut it again at 3.5 inches because we want a square. And this little piece can be saved or gotten rid of depending on what you want to do with it. These two we're going to stack. We're going to put them back in our trimmer horizontally. We're going to cut one piece that is 5 inches. All right. Then we're going to cut this last bit in half to make 2 3.5-inch squares. All right, there we go. We may use the back of that one, so that's why I flipped it over, because I noticed on our instructions it says to use the reverse side. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so we're going to cut 7 of these in two rows of 7. And the way that I do that, so that I can ensure I get as many as possible in, is I turn my punch over and punch it upside down. That way I can see to make sure that I'm getting the most out of my paper. And I can ensure that I have enough to do the design that they're asking me to do without having to get another piece of paper out. So while I'm sure I have scraps of this color, because I use it a lot, I don't want to have to dig through all my scraps to find what I need. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a little bit to spare at the bottom here. I'm just going to flip it over, and I'm going to do the same thing down the other side. 1, and I'm going to keep my punch leaves in 2 separate piles of 7, because I think that will make it easier so that I know how many. I don't have to stress about how many go on which side, because we're going to put an even amount on each side surrounding those half circles. Okay, one more and we are good, and we have just a little bit left over and kind of a cool design down our green cardstock. All right, so now we have all of our pieces together to put this together. That was pretty quick, wasn't it? Okay, let me grab my base sheets and quickly decide which one's going to go where. I don't think it really matters according to what we've got here. We are going to doesn't say that we need to do anything in any specific order. So I'm going to tell you how I'm going to do it, and then we'll see how it goes. First thing I'm going to do is adhere these green pieces that are going to go right up the middle. Excuse me. I had some soda pop today, and it's making me burp. Okay, so I'm going to center this on my page, and the best way I know how to do that is to go ahead and use my grid system that I have on my desk. If you don't have a grid system on your desk, you can use a zero centering ruler. You can just take a look at it and give it your best shot and visually guess where the center of your paper is. Just do the best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes when you put something together and it's not perfect, it's just a new way of doing things, right? All right. Then what we're going to do is take each of our halves of the circle, and now look at that. Uh-oh. Okay, so what am I doing wrong? Maybe my circle was too big. Hold on a second. One, two, three, four. Ah, my circle is too big. That's why. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, my circle's not too big. 8 3/4. My circle is spot on. So what is the problem here? All right, well, I tell you what. We're going to do this. We're going to tuck our circle underneath my green strip, because it is going to go right off my page if I don't do that, and I don't want it to go off my page. So I'm going to lift up that green strip and move my circle so that it is centered from top to bottom as good as I can. And it's going to have roughly, that's probably about 5/8 of an inch from the edge. Okay? I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Okay, so roughly the same distance from the edge over here on the right, and centered in the middle, or top and bottom. There we go. Now we're going to take our leaves. These will be for this side, this pile will be for this side. And we're just going to go ahead and place our leaves going up the edge of our circle. And it looks like they have them slightly tucked in, so they must have started from this end up here. Like so. And they only just barely overlap, so overlapping kind of the base of the stem with the top of the leaf as we work our way down the edge of the circle. And I think I probably could overlap that a little bit more, so I'm going to adjust these just a little bit so that you can kind of see a little bit better how to overlap those. So I'm going to actually bring my leaf up to the center of the first leaf cluster. Best I can. Following a curve can be kind of tricky, but now I have a leaf cluster on my arm. And that one just went off the page, so I'll have to fix that one also. And that one is a little bit... Okay, so you can't go quite up to the break in the first set of leaves. You have to kind of go about halfway in between to set those. Let's see if I can do a better job coming down this other side. Okay, so tucking the top of the tip of my leaf in just a smidgen underneath. I'm going to go kind of to about the middle of that bottom leaf cluster each time. Let's see if it comes together a little bit better that way.
What do you want for dinner?
Let's see. Still a little bit too close, but that's okay. It all works out in the wash, right? There we go. All right, now we're going to put our mats on. What do I want for dinner? What are you fixing?
Well, Emily looked at me and said, "Hey, I want you to do the rest of these empanadas," but then that looks tedious and complex when it's 6 o'clock. Maybe I might do something else. But
if she has everything together and all you're doing is assembling them.
If I start working on them now, I'll be finishing up around 7:30, sometime around that.
Okay, well, I had a late lunch, so I'm okay with that. But if you would rather just microwave some rice, that's fine. I don't care.
I was gonna ask if you wanted rice. Yeah, that's basically it.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, just making sure, because you don't want to go upstairs and then go, "Oh, thought we were doing something else."
I know. I get it.
I'm here like with my tail between my legs, like I know, but Emily forced this on me.
Don't worry about it. It's fine. Thank you. Okay, so what we're gonna do is I'm taking a look at our layout here. We've got 3 larger photos, then we've got 5 square photos. And you can lay these out however it suits your photos. I'm going to lay them out according to the project recipe so that we can see how it was intended to be. All right, let's see here. So we've got this one that is kind of a focal photo. Then we've got this one that's going to go horizontal, this one that's going to go horizontal. We've got these 2, and we've got these 3 over here. And it looks like that's exactly how they have them too. Well, pretty close anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and put these on with my repositionable adhesive so that, again, I can move them if I decide that they are not quite where I wanted them to be. A couple of these are meant to be reversed. I think I mentioned that earlier, so let me just check that. So it looks like actually these pieces are meant to be reversed and have the back side of the paper showing. I don't know if I like the back side of my paper though. I think I might just leave the other. I don't know if it really makes that big of a difference, because according to the way they have done this, you can't really see that edge, and there's more color on the striped paper than there is on this one. So I think I'm going to go with keeping them all the same. I think I like that best. But again, it's personal preference. You can do what makes you happy. If you want to flip your mats over and do them on an alternate side, be my guest. Completely up to you. I'm going about 5/8 of an inch from the top or the bottom of my page, and then just centering between this green, our green 4x12 piece, and the center of my page, so that this has roughly the same amount of space. Then this guy is going to get centered between, so it looks like it has a green frame all the way around it. And this one's going to have a floral frame all the way around it. Right? And these are, let's see, we're going to do the middle one. I'm going to do the middle one at the same place, the same height as these, but it's only about 1/4 of an inch into our green cardstock. So right about there. And then this one will be about the same width, the same margin here that these have over here. Come on. Same for this guy also. Keep your margins the same so they all look like they belong together, right? And then this guy just gets centered between the top and bottom as well. All right. Now, I don't have embellishments for this collection anymore because it's an older collection, as I mentioned before. It uses a lot of flowers, so if you still have any of the Botanical Burst flowers that went with this collection, get those out and add those to your leaves. I'm going to check my embellishment sort and stash binder and see what I can come up with and add them to these pages. And it looks like they've added one to the upper leaf here, one to the lower leaf here, and then another one right here kind of below this largest photo to draw a little bit of attention there. If you wanted to, you could do kind of the opposite. You could put a cluster of flowers up here, a cluster of flowers down here, and do maybe a cluster of flowers here or a title right here in this area also. That would be cute. You can journal right here in this white half a circle. It's a perfect area for journaling, and if you wanted to add a title, you could do a title in here in this area, or vice versa, depending on how much you need to journal or how large a title you need to use. So just some ideas, but isn't it pretty? Isn't this a pretty design? And it goes together very, very quickly. I'm really excited to share this with you, and I really do hope that you use it in your albums because it is a really great project recipe. Thank you, Home Office. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you see more project recipes and more original ideas as they come out, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, I hope you have many more creative moments. You have a great day.